To say that our mind is a battlefield, it's maybe not the correct word, but I also don't think it's the wrong word. Because I'm really confident, and through all my years of teaching, that our mind is very much where we fight our battles. Yes, we see them out here in the physical, but the thing of it is, the physical is always changing. But we're always with our mind, right? And so often, our mind and the landscape of our mind and how we're managing our mind, and more accurately, the voices in our head, because our thoughts are comprised of pictures and movies, voices, or dialogues. So our thoughts so often are conversations that we're having in our mind. They're actually us talking to us or other characters in our mind. And that's where the battlefield is. And it's really interesting as I continue on with sort of combat sports and learning and progressing and things like that, is how the skills and techniques I'm learning when you're managing an opponent, when you're sparring, parallel when you're sparring with the voices in your head. So then I had this thought in my head. What if I put together a series of teaching modules using and paralleling what I'm learning with kickboxing and how I'm taking those skills and using them to help me manage the voices in my mind so much more effectively, and using strategies that come from understandings. We can start to manage, I almost want to say control, but we start to take authority. It's one of the things we talk about in sparring is taking authority. Who's going to take authority? There's your sparring partner over there, and here's you. Now, one of the keys is you taking authority in when you're sparring, right? So in this particular activity that you're involved in. And that's one of the things we need to do, is take authority in our own mind. I've just got them here in a list. Here's some of the topics I'm going to cover. First one is foundation. If we don't have that strong foundation, then we're going to get our butt kicked, which applies in sparring. If you don't have that foundation, then you're not going to be able to take authority. You're not going to be able to go into the offensive. You're not going to be able to be defensive when it requires it. And understanding your opponent. You see, we don't really have, it's been my experience, and I have a lot of experience through the teaching and different things like that. We don't have a really good understanding of those voices in my head, the voices in your head, our thoughts. We don't have a really good understanding of our opponents, because you have to understand your opponent in order to be able to effectively apply the strategies in these upcoming modules. Second one is understanding the strategies of your opponent.
You do know this is the third topic, right?
Getting inside their head. And that's why I think it's really going to be effective using the platform of sparring, because there are two entities, right? And the same thing happens in your mind. In this case, it's a whole lot more than two, but there's this juxtapositioning that's going on. And understand the strategies of your opponent are so important. Stamina is huge. I see it in myself, right? Stamina, endurance, cardio. That's one of the things that I'm probably the weakest in. I've been really working on increasing that, because that's when all the people that I follow, what they will say is, stamina will almost outrank skills and technique, because if you can outlast your opponent, you're going to come out on top. Balance is so important. When you're sparring, if you lose your balance, you're done, right? As I said before, defense and offense. What is defense? What is offense? How do you know when? How do I know when I'm on the defensive with the voices in my mind what to do? And then how do I know when to move to the offense? Because I tell you, that's the thing. If you don't have that understanding, and when you should be defending, you're trying to go in offense, you're going to get blindsided. These last three, and this is just the first part of the list. This could go on for who knows how long. Managing emotions. You see, when you're in a sparring experience, in your mind, emotions almost inevitably come into play. And while it's important that we feel them, what's even more important is we understand how to manage when they arrive. Momentum is huge, right? It fits in with all these other ones. How to understand when the momentum is going with you or the momentum is going against you, and then what do you do in either one of those situations? This one here is really good. Siphoning off emotional energy. Again, managing those emotions. And sometimes you got to do something with them because it's energy. And to take that and really transmute it into something that you can use for your benefit. Because in some cases, as they appear, they're not the most beneficial. But if we can take that energy and transmute it into something else, we can now use that to propel us forward. That was the list I had so far, and I'm sure that list will grow. But I really like this idea